The story begins with a manager speaking with his driver about how few people take the world of martial arts seriously. The driver responds by saying that this mindset is preferable because it makes people uncomfortable to know that powerful warriors could be hidden among them. But the manager isn't satisfied with the fact of suffering through all the trouble just to ensure other people feel comfortable. He even adds how the last section chief lost his life due to his job. As he considers retirement, while he still has the chance, he glances at his tablet and comments on a high schooler Murim warrior, noting that no high schooler becomes a warrior. The driver asks if the manager is talking about the boy they are going to meet. The manager agrees, saying that no high schooler in their right mind becomes a Murim warrior. The driver agrees, saying it is rare, but it might be possible if someone encounters a legendary Murim warrior in their final moments. The scene shifts to the rooftop of a building where a boy stands at the edge, prepared to jump off. Just when he is about to jump off, he hears a voice asking if he is going to jump. As he looks around, he notices a boy leaning on the railing. He is shocked at the thought of how long the other student has been watching him. Ignoring him, he looks down, thinking he has already written his suicide note. He is ready to finally close his eyes and jump off the building. Before he could jump, the student advised him not to do it. He flinches a bit and looks behind him to notice that the student got closer to him without even making any noise. Seeing a badge on his shirt, he learned that the student was a second-year student. The student explained how people often experience their lives flashing before their eyes before they die. He adds that people get a mixed glimpse of both good and bad times. However, the most common regret they feel in those moments is their decision to end their life. The kid, named Hage Kong, stops him, saying that he doesn't really want to die, but is forced to make this harsh decision because of Yunho Kim. He shows a scar on his stomach given by Yunho Kim because Hage Kong couldn't run his errands properly. Apart from errands and taking his money, Yunho also bullies him, slaps him, spits on him, and even pulls down his pants in front of other students. He mentions how others treat him poorly, as if he were worthless, despite Yunho being in the wrong. When he sought help from his teacher, it wasn't much assistance. The teacher advised him to stop causing trouble at school and to learn to get along with his classmates. As Hage Kong continues to complain, the second-year student stands straight, watching him cry about preferring not to live in this messed-up world rather than being bullied and treated like waste. The student agrees and pushes Hage Kong off the roof, advising him to experience the feeling of losing life at least once. Before Kong could comprehend anything, he was screaming with tears, free-falling from the sky. At that moment, he catches a glimpse of childhood memories spent with his family and friends. He recalls the sinister laugh of Yunho Kim as he was being beaten. He blames Kim for everything, regretting that he never attempted to fight back or hit him even once. As he falls, he reflects on the fact that it shouldn't have ended this way. As he slowly opens his eyes, he realizes he is in the school clinic. Confused about his surroundings, he sits up straight and looks around. He notices a sign that reads, "Nurse's Office," and begins to wonder how he ended up there. His mind races with thoughts, pondering whether the boy he encountered was a ghost or if he was simply dreaming. Just then, Yunho enters the room, moving the curtains aside with his two friends. Before Kong could react, Yunho threw him and took him to an open area in the school's backyard. He throws a notebook towards Kong, saying it has Kang's suicide note in it. Yunho sarcastically claimed he almost cried while reading the note. "The note made Yunho sound like a total psycho," said Yunho. Kong realized he was not dreaming, but before he could look, Yunho landed a kick to his stomach, causing him to cough in pain. Yunho asks why was Kong sleeping in the nurse's office even though he skipped his class to jump off the roof. Regardless of whether the incident on the roof was a dream, he realizes he still carries the same regret of being bullied and not standing up for himself. Yunho pulls him up with his hair, asking if he needs any help to end his life. As Kong continues to pant, he recalls the regret he felt on the roof. Without any delay, Yunho starts slapping Kong continuously. Kong gathers his strength and determination to fight back and tries to punch Yunho in the face. But to his surprise, Yunho dodges his punch easily and laughs at him for trying to fight back. Yunho calls him a weakling and kicks him in the stomach, pushing him back to collide with the wall. With trembling hands, Kong stands up and invites Yunho to fight him. Yunho gets excited to fight a weakling as he knows it will be another easy win for him. Kang realizes that he would prefer to lose his life while fighting against him than to lose on his own. Just before the fight begins, Kang hears a familiar voice appreciating his bravery in standing up to the challenge. As he looks up, he notices the same second-year student sitting on a wall who had pushed him off the roof. Seeing him, Kang realizes that he wasn't dreaming or having an encounter with a ghost on the roof. Yunho tells the student to go away and not interrupt him during his fight, threatening to call Jinho, one of the best second years, if he does. But he ignores him and jumps down, approaching Kang to help him one last time. Yunho gets confused watching the second-year student fix Kang's posture. The second-year student pats Kang on his back, telling him to try fighting Yunho with his improved posture and stronger fists. Hearing this made Yunho and his friends burst into laughter. Watching them, Kang becomes nervous, but the second-year student reassures him to be confident, believing that he will win the fight with just a single punch. Without showing any mercy, Kim rushes towards Kang. Just before Kim could hit, the student touched Kang's back with his finger, which made him jump towards Kim with full force. Kim slowed down watching this. Just then, he touched his finger again on his right elbow, making him stronger and faster, which resulted in him blowing a punch that landed right on Kim's face. Kim didn't have a chance to react and was knocked airborne with a single punch. Kang becomes confused with a sudden increase in his strength and speed. On the other hand, Yunho's friends try to make a failed attempt to wake him up, which makes them angry. They approach Kang intending to fight. Just before they reached him, the student touched both of Kang's shoulders, which resulted in him landing a punch on both of Yunho's friends simultaneously that sent them flying. Kang is shocked to see Yunho and his friends lying on the ground with a single punch. Watching them, the second-year student praises Kang for knocking them all down with a single punch. As Kang hears him praising, he asks who he is, blaming him for all the incidents that occurred on the roof and with Yunho and his friends. But he denies, replying that it is Kang who is responsible for these guys' condition. Kang rushes towards him, intending to punch him because he feels that the second-year student thinks Kang is foolish. But the student dodges his attack without any difficulty and makes him fall to the ground, catching him in midair. He asks him to calm down as Kang asked him if he is an alien, a ghost, or some kind of superhero. He reminds him not to forget that he helped Kang during the fight. However, Kang shifts the blame back onto him, blaming him for making things worse as he believes he will be bullied 10 times more now that he has knocked Yunho down. But the student stops him, saying that he has the strength to punch a guy who he thinks might be an alien, a ghost, or a superhero, but he is afraid of those guys. He asks if he wants him to wake those guys up, kneel in front of them, and beg them to forgive him. Instead, Kang kneels, expressing gratitude to the student for his help. He promises to never forget that he is alive because of him. The student is taken aback by Kang's request for help to become stronger. He replies that it is a significant favor to ask from someone he doesn't even know. Looking at the badge on his shirt, Kang replies that he knows he is Seon Lee of second year. Kang pleads with him to make him stronger, promising to do anything he asks. Meanwhile, the manager arrives with his assistant driver at their destination to meet Seon Lee, a legend in the world of martial arts. As Kang begs him, Lee remembers how he also begged someone like this, but in return, he only got despair and frustration along with a mission to exterminate his enemy. Lee walks away in anger. The manager, Jean-Lip Lee, who was recently appointed as a section chief at Murim's Special Affairs Bureau, finally meets Seon Lee in a canteen, gives him his card, and offers him a can of soda to talk. Asking why they wanted to meet him, the manager's assistant answers Lee, assuring him not to worry about anything. He asks him about Gyumunryang. The manager realizes that the question may be challenging for him to answer, as he knows that Seon Lee's master is the greatest threat in the Murim world. He reveals that Gyumunryang has become the head of the deadly terrorist group known as the Shadow Warriors. He adds that the group's strength has been growing since he took on a leadership role, and the group is expanding its power across various countries. Jean-Lip is afraid that if they keep on expanding, they can even take over the whole world. Recently, the group has been contacting Murim warriors, Jean-Lip explains. Unaware of his intentions, Seon asks him to elaborate on what he means. He asks Seon to be cautious of the group and asks him to cooperate with the government. Although the government and Murim are not supposed to intervene with each other, He explains that they must take certain steps to prevent the terrorist group from doing as they please. When he asks Seon for any information about the group, Seon angrily throws Jamlip's card, causing the soda can to explode. Seon tells the section chief to never bother him again regarding such nonsense, as he views Gyumunryang as nothing more than an enemy. Seon walks away, leaving the manager shocked as he had thought he was just an amateur boy, but he turns out to be excessively irritable and short-tempered, and he looks forward to seeing the boy make any mess. The scenario then shifts to Kang Hae's class, showing Kang looking at his typically messy desk. Even though it's not yet over, he still sees some difference in not getting targeted by everyone after his incident with Yunho and Seon Lee. He notices how many of his classmates are worried about him but did not try to oppose Yunho because they were scared of him. As he tries to recall how he became Yunho's target, his attention shifts to the back of the classroom where Yunho enters with his friends, slamming the door furiously and screaming Hae's name. Everyone in the class, including Hae, is frightened by Yunho's intense entrance. But Hae tries to comfort himself by recalling his promise to never be bullied again. He squeezes his hands to make a punch to fight back even if he only manages to land a single punch. But Yunho is in no mood to show any mercy and forcefully punches Kang in the face, making him fall to the ground after crashing into the bench. Kang captures the entire class's attention as he begins to bleed. Yunho picks him up and asks what he was thinking back then. Sarcastically asking if Hae Kang thinks he is a tough guy, he lands a series of punches knocking him down to the ground. Yunho still doesn't stop and sits on him to continue beating him. Everyone in the class just watches Yunho, except the class rep girl who interrupts him by saying that he should stop as lunchtime is almost over. Yunho's anger shifts from Hae Kang to the class rep and mentions that his father is the top lawyer at Kim and Park, the best law firm in Korea. Knowing he won't face consequences for his actions, he approaches the girl, threatening to cause trouble in class. Just then, Hae Kang gets up and reminds him to fight him and not the class representative. Standing up while bleeding, he challenges Yunho to a fist fight. Suddenly, he recalls why Yunho started bullying him, because he tried to help someone else who was being bullied by Yunho. This infuriates Yunho, prompting him to flip the bench with a single hand. Yunho's friends began discussing whether they should intervene, as they were worried that Yunho might harm the boy. However, they were also aware of Yunho's temper and were reluctant to provoke him, fearing that he might turn against them. Suddenly, one of Yunho's friends stops him to answer Jinho Hyan's call. Yunho pauses, as Jinho wants to speak with him right then. As he takes the phone, both Yunho and Hae are shocked to hear Jinho warning him to not lay a hand on Hae. Yunho leaves the class warning Hae to beware of him as comes back after talking to Jinho. This incident leaves Hae surprised as he receives help from Jinho, who is himself a second-year bully. He is suspicious that Seon might be involved in this. The class representative helps Hae by giving him a handkerchief to wipe the blood from his nose and asks if he is okay. Thanking the class president, he leaves his class and visits the second-year class to ask if Seon is in the class. Hae just laughs when the upperclassmen are shocked to see his beaten-up face. At that moment, they agree with his question about Seon being in their class. When he asks them if they know where he can find Seon, they reply that they don't know, since Seon hasn't been to school for many days. Hae feels disappointed to learn that even Seon's teachers have no idea where he is. Hearing this, goosebumps ran down his body, wondering if he really encountered a ghost. Seeing Hae's strange look, they ask him to get out of the class and stop bothering them. As he gets out of the class, another student from that class notices Hae asking about Seon. He steps out of the classroom, walking through the hallway, wondering if Seon could really be a ghost. The thought of Yunho and his friends having seen him too offers a small sense of relief. Suddenly, a boy from Seon's class appears behind him, slipping an arm around his shoulder, telling that he wants to ask something. Seeing Hae's confused face, he reassures him to not worry about anything. Hae notices how the boy doesn't look like a school student and looks too big for his age. Confirming that Hae Kang asked about Seon, the boy continues to walk with him along with his group until a young woman stops them from behind, asking if they could talk about something. The group murmurs as the woman seems too old to be a student, but also too young to be a teacher. The woman glanced at Hae Kang's badge before calling out his name to ask what was going on. The leader of the group tells the woman to not stick her nose in between while they are just having a chat. The woman steps closer, disagreeing after seeing a bunch of big tough guys surrounding a student covered in blood. Seeing her bravery, the leader calls the woman to be either clueless or too brave to go against them. The students of the group gets more angry seeing her asking for alliance through phone by making her call her comrades to come in the alley behind the second-year building. Two of the students from the group rushes towards her intending to snatch her phone. As Hage tries to stop them, the woman, in the blink of an eye, knocks both of them out. Seeing her strength, Hage becomes shocked. However, the leader had been suspicious of her being a Murim warrior from the start. The girl instructs the students to refrain from causing any problems because it is a normal school. The leader of the group stops one of his friends and asks the woman if she is Master Sarah Khan of any martial arts clan linked to the school. When they talk about the martial arts clan in Murim, Hage Kong becomes confused. The woman thinks to not waste any time in introduction as they all seem to know her. She asks them to follow her to discuss this in a more private location. But they seem to have no interest in going with her and rather takes a small ball out of his pocket. The leader throws it towards her. But Sarah Kong senses it to blocks the ball with her purse, making it explode. The explosion resulted in release of gas, which gave them the opportunity to grab Hage Kong and run away. Hage Kong gets scared asking if he threw a bomb at her. The student picks Hage Kong up denying that it was not a bomb. Sarah Kong realizes that she feels dizzy after escaping the smoke as the ball he threw was filled with anesthetic gas. Moments later, she rises to her feet and calls her comrade, urgently reporting that the intruders she had warned about earlier have taken Hage Kong hostage and fled. She also shares her growing concern, mentioning that she has a bad feeling about it especially since the intruders used a hidden weapon filled with anesthetic gas. She orders her comrade to gather every possible member and have them search the entire school thoroughly. The scene then shifts to the students and Hage Kong showing how they are surprised to run into Sarah Kong. They predict that they might be in trouble for using a hidden weapon on her, and decides to interrogate Hage Kong quickly and get out of there before things escalate further. Seeing the tough guy, Hage Kong gulps in fear as the man demands to know Seon's location. Instead of answering his question, Hage Kong stands his ground, asking why do he want to know about Seon. The student glares at Hage Kong angrily telling him it's none of his business. To his surprise, Hage Kong denies to give him any information regarding Seon. With a mix of hesitation and tension, he asks the student to be fair and answer his questions too in return. The student expected him to be a coward, but to his surprise, Hage Kong is bold and fearless, says him. He asserts his dominance by punching the wall just behind Hage Kong with a loud, forceful crack, telling him how being bold will lead to him losing his life. Hage Kong is himself surprised to see himself being calm and telling the student back that they will not get to know anything if he loses his life. As the leader gets more angry, his friend tells him to calm down and takes over the control by telling Hage Kong to ask what he wants to know. Hage Kong asks them about their reason of finding Seon. He answers his question by telling him how Sunwoo clan has been recently living in isolation. Considering this, they are curious to find out what's going on when the leader of the clan makes a move. But Hage Kong seems confused as he has no idea about the clan or their leader. Noticing his bewilderment, the student rephrases his answer saying that they are looking for Seon because he is a very important guy in the Murim. The leader becomes angry and starts approaching Hage Kong as he has no idea about Murim either. Stopping him, the student tells him about Murim, saying that it is a society with different set of values than ordinary people. After explaining, he asks Hage Kong if he is satisfied with the information, but Hage asks what kind of values is he referring to. The leader loses his patience and angrily walks towards Hage Kong. By placing his hand on his shoulder, he tells him to answer his questions now. He asks about Seon's location, but before Hage Kong could say anything, Seon appears out of nowhere, coldly asking him why did he ask such a question. Everyone flinches and moves away from Hage Kong in an instant, revealing how frightened they are to see Seon. As Seon moves closer to them, he asks them about their identity, and why were they so eager to know about Seon's location. The student stumbles seeing Seon's anger, as he warns them to not even think about escaping. They get extremely frightened, and tries to run away. As soon as they make a call to escape, Seon uses his magical powers to make those guys float in air. Hage Kong gets shocked as he watches those students fly. As soon as he turns around to ask Seon about it, He notices that Seon has teleported into the air. Before Hage Kong can even process what's happening, Seon takes down all 4 students midair. Seon stares them with anger as they continue to scream in pain after falling to the ground. Watching Seon move at a lightning speed, Hage Kong doubts if he is really a ghost. The students complain while crying, asking him about the reason for his actions. While taking out his phone, he explains how they used a hidden weapon on his clan member. He even adds that they threatened a person and informed an ordinary person about the Murim. He angrily asks if any more reason is needed for his actions. As he dials to make a phone call, he tells the students that he will ask them later why they were looking for him. As soon as his call gets picked, he asks the person to come near the P storage. Seon starts walking away, telling Hage Kong to come with him. As Hage Kong asks about those students, he sees that the students are being taken away by the police. Seon orders Hage to ignore them and follow him. As he walks behind Seon, thinking about the incident that just happened being scary. Just then, Seon asks him if he saw what happens if Hage goes around talking about him in the school, and orders Hage Kong to stay away from him. But Seon gets surprised seeing Kong compliment him for his kindness, as he asks him to stay away from him out of concern. Hage Kong also asks if he did something to Jinho earlier, remembering that he tried to save him from Yunho through a phone call. Just then, he mentions about the recent incident with those students, asking if he has some kind of superpower, or is he also a Murim warrior. Before Hage Kong could complete his sentence, Seon interrupts him, saying that he was not joking and can get himself killed if he doesn't stay away from him. But Kong doesn't care, saying that Seon saved his life and he is basically living on borrowed time. He tells Seon about how miserable he was before he met him. Thinking that everyone in the world hated him, he was so depressed that he went up to the roof. But the world looked completely changed when he woke up after meeting Seon. He realized that everyone didn't consider him an enemy, and was surprised to see the class president standing up to Yunho for him. He tells how his sense of reality was deformed after continuously getting bullied by Yunho. He says that he is grateful to Seon for making him get a sense of reality. Seon tells Kong to get back to his class as it has probably started. Kong agrees, and with a slight bow, he shows his respect and looks forward to meet him again soon. After a while, Seon realizes Kong is still standing behind him. He asks why is he still standing. Kong replies, asking if he could get his number. Seon glares at him, angrily, making Kong scared. With his view, Kong understands that Seon is not interested in sharing numbers. Kong takes the leave, saying that he won't reveal the incidents that happened today to anyone. Just then, Siro comes, appreciating Kong for being cheerful apart from the given circumstances. Seeing her, Seon asks if she is okay. Replying that it was only a temporary stun, she says that she is fine. Regarding the intruders, she tells Seon that they might be working for Murim's Special Affairs Bureau, just as he suspected. Hearing this, Seon asks for forgiveness, as he thinks that it is all his fault. But Siro tells him not to apologize, as she thinks that it is not his fault, but hers, for letting those suspicious people break into school. But beneath her lies a concern that maybe Seon's involvement might have made things more dangerous. He asks if she is bothered by him helping the kid, Hage Kong. She replies, saying that she is not bothered, as she completely understands his feelings. She says that the thing that's really bothering her is her meeting with Dr. Demon Hand in secret later. During Sarah Kang's visit to see Dr. Demon Hand, he inquires about the condition of the head of the Sunwoo clan. Sarah responds that he is still suffering from the after effects. The doctor, already aware of the incident he experienced, doesn't seem surprised by her answer. Sarah expresses her concern by asking if he can continue with his current condition. The doctor replies, asking if she is afraid about him experiencing chi deviations, abnormalities caused in the body by improper chi operations. She explains his condition of feeling lost and wandering around despite his bad condition. However, the doctor is certain that the chief of the Sunwoo clan is stronger and unique compared to other people. He goes on to say that the Sunwoo clan's leader was already stronger than others at a very young age. But before Sarah Kong could finish her opinion about using common sense, she gets interrupted by the doctor, asking her to trust him and forget about logic. He introduces himself as Sangshik Ju, the head physician of the Hanjin Clinic. As soon as they reach some building, he explains that all that's happening is beyond what's normal in the Murim world. The door swung open, with Seon welcoming Dr. Sangshik Ju. The doctor enters the building, patting him on the back, appreciating how he have grown more since the doctor last saw him. The doctor steps in the room, asking if they should do something crazy. The scenario then shifts to Hage Kang's school, showing the students chattering indistinctively about eating ramen at a PC room as the school just finished. As everyone from the class leaves, Hage Kang notices Yunho and his friends leaving the classroom without causing any trouble for him. After a while, he leaves the classroom. Seeing Yunho's quiet behavior after that fight, he guesses that something must have happened between him and Jinho. He thinks about Seon's powerful influence, which can make anyone fill themselves with fear. Thinking about Seon, he wonders what a Murim warrior is. Even after trying to find information from the internet, he finds nothing but useless information only from movies and novels. He thinks that he still didn't feel much surprised watching Seon's powers. Looking at his phone, he is uncertain if he can meet Seon ever again. As he gets out of the school, thinking how Seon is cool despite him being scary while walking alone on a lonely street, he sees someone step towards him. Kang confusingly looks up and sees Yunho and his friends grinning at him. Yunho greets him sarcastically and asks if he really thought he was safe from them. Hearing this from Yunho, a sense of fear is experienced by Kang, worrying about himself. The scene shifts, showing Ser Kang's shocking reaction. While washing his hands, the doctor advises her to not be scared as he agrees about the amount of needle being too much, but accept that everything is normal. She replies saying that she wouldn't even consider that as an actual treatment if she was unaware of the doctor being the Murim's top physician. The doctor laughs as he wipes his hand with a hand towel, saying that if any Murim warriors found out what was going on there, they would be even more shocked than her. Seon was then seen meditating with countless needles attached to his body.